On March 14, 2019, Detective Sarah Brennan entered the abandoned home at 1847 Clearview Drive in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. The family had vanished 3 days prior. No signs of struggle. No blood. Nothing taken. Just gone. But in the daughter's bedroom, something waited. Propped against the wall, facing the door as if watching, sat a porcelain doll with glass eyes that caught the light in a way that made Brennan's breath catch in her throat. And scattered across the floor, dozens of drawings. All of them houses. Black houses with red doors. Each one numbered in a child's careful handwriting. 1 through 47. Brennan photographed the scene, bagged the evidence, and brought the doll to the station. That night, her daughter drew her first house. A black house. With a red door. And the number 48 written in the bottom corner. In handwriting that wasn't hers. The Brennan family lived at 582 Maple Ridge Court, a modest two-story colonial in a neighborhood where children played in sprinklers and parents waved from porches. Normal. Safe. Or so Detective Brennan believed. Her daughter Emma was 8 years old. Bright. Creative. She loved to draw, filling sketchbooks with horses and rainbows and the kinds of innocent things children draw. But on the night of March 14, after her mother brought home evidence from the Clearview case, Emma's drawings changed. Brennan found her daughter sitting cross-legged on her bedroom floor at 2 a.m, hunched over a piece of paper, drawing with a focus that seemed almost trance-like. The crayon moved in slow, deliberate strokes. When Brennan turned on the light, Emma didn't look up. Didn't blink. Just kept drawing. The house taking shape on the paper was rendered in pure black, except for the door. The door was red. Crimson red, like Emma had pressed so hard the crayon had nearly torn through the paper. And in the bottom right corner, written in numbers that looked too precise, too controlled for an 8-year-old's hand, the number 48. Brennan felt something cold settle in her stomach. She asked Emma why she was awake. Why she was drawing houses. Emma's hands stopped moving. Her head tilted slightly, as if listening to something Brennan couldn't hear. Then, in a voice that sounded hollow, distant, Emma whispered, "She showed me." Brennan's eyes moved to the shelf above Emma's bed. To the porcelain doll she'd brought home. The doll with glass eyes that now seemed to be looking directly at her. Its painted smile suddenly appearing less innocent. More knowing. Brennan spent the next morning in the department's cold case archives, searching for anything that might explain the drawings found at the Clearview house. What she discovered made her hands shake as she turned page after page of incident reports. 47 cases spanning 11 years. 47 families. All with young daughters between the ages of 6 and 10. All vanished without a trace. And in each case, in the weeks before the disappearances, neighbors reported the same thing: they'd seen the daughters sitting in windows late at night, drawing. Always drawing. When investigators had searched the homes, they'd found the pictures. Houses rendered in black crayon or marker. Red doors. Each one numbered in sequence. The first case dated back to 2008, in a small town in Ohio. A girl named Melissa Chen, age 7. Her parents reported her behavior had changed after receiving a doll from her grandmother's estate sale. She stopped playing with friends. Stopped talking during dinner. She only wanted to draw. The drawings were found in her closet after the family vanished. Houses numbered 1 through 6. The doll was never recovered. It wasn't until case number 12, in 2011, that a detective made a note in the file about a similar doll being found in the home before the family disappeared. Porcelain face. Victorian dress. Glass eyes that seemed to track movement. By case 33, a pattern was undeniable. The doll appeared. The daughter began drawing houses. And then, when the count reached a certain number, the family vanished. Brennan's vision blurred as she reached the most recent file before the Clearview case. Case 46. The Morrison family from Scranton. Their daughter had drawn 46 houses before they disappeared. The doll had been logged into evidence. Then, somehow, it had been transferred. Donated to a local charity shop. Where, according to the chain of custody Brennan traced with growing horror, it had been purchased by the grandmother of a girl named Emma Brennan. Her Emma. Her daughter. Brennan drove home at 11 a.m., her service weapon feeling heavier than usual against her hip. She'd left the station without explanation, without checking out, without telling anyone where she was going. All she could think about was Emma. About getting that doll out of her house. About stopping whatever was happening before it was too late. But when she pulled into the driveway, she found Emma's bedroom window open. The curtain billowing out like a pale hand waving goodbye. Inside, the house was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes you aware of your own heartbeat. Brennan called Emma's name. No response. She took the stairs 2 at a time, her breath coming in short gasps. Emma's door was closed. From beneath it, she could see a faint light, flickering like candlelight, though Emma didn't have candles in her room. Brennan's hand hesitated on the doorknob. It was cold. Cold enough that condensation had formed on the brass. She could hear something now. A soft sound. Like humming. A child's voice, humming a melody Brennan didn't recognize. Something old. Something that made her skin crawl. She opened the door. Emma sat in the center of the floor, surrounded by drawings. Not dozens this time. Hundreds. They covered every inch of floor space, overlapping, creating a paper carpet of black houses with red doors. Each one numbered. The drawings went from 48 to 193. And Emma was still drawing, her hand moving in mechanical precision, her eyes focused on nothing, her lips moving as she hummed that terrible melody. The doll sat in her lap. And as Brennan stepped into the room, she could swear she saw the doll's lips moving too. Humming the same song. Brennan lunged forward and snatched the doll from Emma's lap. The porcelain felt warm. Alive. Emma's eyes snapped up, focusing on her mother for the first time, and what Brennan saw in those eyes made her stomach turn. Recognition, yes. But also something else. Something ancient and hungry. Emma's mouth opened, but the voice that came out was wrong. Too deep. Too layered, as if multiple voices were speaking at once. She showed me the houses, Emma said. All the houses where they went. Where they're all waiting. Brennan backed toward the door, clutching the doll. She needed to destroy it. Burn it. Bury it. Anything. But Emma stood, and the drawings around her began to rustle, though there was no wind. The papers lifted, floating, swirling in a vortex around the room. And Brennan could see now what she'd missed before. The houses in the drawings weren't random. They were real. She recognized addresses. Crime scene photos she'd seen in the archives. Each drawing was a perfect replica of a house where a family had vanished. And in the windows of each house, if you looked closely enough, you could see tiny figures. Faces pressed against the glass. Screaming. Emma took a step forward. She says you brought her here, Mommy. She says you're special. A detective. You can bring her to so many more houses. So many more families with daughters who can draw. The doll in Brennan's hands began to vibrate. The glass eyes rolled, finding her face. And the painted mouth, impossibly, began to curve upward into a wider smile. Brennan ran. Down the stairs, through the kitchen, out the back door into the yard. She could hear Emma following, her footsteps slow and deliberate. Not running. Not chasing. Just walking. As if she knew her mother had nowhere to go. In the garden shed, Brennan found a metal bucket and lighter fluid. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the doll twice as she placed it in the bucket, doused it with fluid, and struck a match. The doll caught fire immediately, the Victorian dress curling and blackening, the porcelain face cracking in the heat. Brennan watched, her breath coming in ragged gasps, as the thing burned. The smell was wrong. Not burning fabric or melting plastic. Something else. Something organic and rotten, like burning meat. It took 20 minutes for the fire to die down. When it did, Brennan looked into the bucket. The doll was gone. Completely gone. Not even ash remained. Just scorched metal. Relief flooded through her so intensely she nearly collapsed. It was over. She'd stopped it. She'd saved Emma. But when she turned around, Emma stood in the doorway of the shed. And in her arms, pristine and untouched, was the doll. "You can't burn her, Mommy," Emma said in that horrible, layered voice. "She's been burned before. 47 times. She always comes back. And now she's here. In our house. With us." Emma held out the doll toward her mother. "She says it's your turn now. She says you need to understand before the drawings are finished. She wants to show you the houses too." Brennan felt something shift in her mind. A presence. Cold. Ancient. Pushing its way into her thoughts like fingers prying open a locked door. And suddenly, she understood. She could see them. The houses. All 193. She could see the families trapped inside, daughters still drawing, still counting, adding to the total. Forever. And she knew, with horrible certainty, that her house would be next. Number 194. Unless she passed the doll on. Unless she gave it to someone else. Another detective. Another family. Another daughter who loved to draw. Detective Sarah Brennan returned to work the following Monday. She closed the Clearview case, ruling it a cold case with no leads. And 3 weeks later, during a routine evidence cleanup, the porcelain doll disappeared from the station's storage. According to the logs, it was donated to a charity shop in Harrisburg. The same charity shop that services a neighborhood where a detective Marcus Walsh lives with his wife and 9-year-old daughter. His daughter who just started taking art classes. Who loves to draw. Last week, Walsh mentioned to colleagues that his daughter had been given a beautiful antique doll. He said she hasn't put it down since. He said she's been drawing a lot lately. Houses, mostly. He thought it was strange that she draws them all in black. With red doors. And numbers in the corners. He asked if anyone knew why a child would do that. Nobody answered him. Nobody wanted to tell him what it meant. What happens when a daughter reaches the final number? But I know. And now, so do you. The question is, what number is your house?